Welcome, everybody. My name is Carly, and you're listening to Swoon-Worthy, a podcast my sister Kayla and I co host. We have a passion for movies and series set in different time periods, also known as the period drama. And last season, we had an episode on the many on screen portrayals of the historical Anne Boleyn. Today, we are going to cover her daughter, a favorite historical figure of ours, Queen Elizabeth I, with a huge focus on Cate Blanchett's performance. Cate Blanchett starred as the Queen in two Elizabeth movies, 1998 and 2007. She received Best Actress Oscar nominations for both movies, and we'll do a deep dive into those films, the scenes, the costumes, some of her famous quotes. But we also want to highlight other Queen Elizabeth portrayals at the end, so stick around. Now, when I think about the best Queen Elizabeth performance, I think about Cate Blanchett. Do you feel the same way, Kayla?
Yes, definitely.
I mean, she's so beautiful and regal, but I love how in the first movie, you see her transform from a lighthearted young woman to the untouchable virgin queen. I just think her journey in that first film it's just magnificent.
Yeah, Cate Blanchett, she gave a powerhouse performance in this role as Queen Elizabeth I. She it is iconic. These two movies, both, I think, have stood the test of time. And she transformed into the queen, the last Tudor queen.
Yeah. And I know you definitely loved reading about Anne Boleyn and Queen Elizabeth when you were younger. And I wonder I don't know if we saw the first film together. It's definitely a darker film, I would say, but I'm pretty sure we saw Elizabeth the Golden Age when it came into theaters together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I definitely remember watching it on our projector in the living room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good. And let's let's start talking about the movies. So the first film starts out quite dramatic. The music and the opening is so dramatic, and it shows that Queen Mary, who's sitting on the throne, is a fervent Catholic, and her greatest fear is Elizabeth, her half sister, taking the throne. There's burning of heretics at the stake, and it's just Mary is depicted so dark in the beginning of this movie. And I remember that kind of formed my opinion of Mary for the longest time. Is this Mary?
I mean,
And
her name is Bloody Mary.
I know, but there are other more sympathetic portrayals of Mary.
I mean, she was a young child, but she became Bloody Mary. I
I know.
mean, there's no way around it. But her dad was also Henry VIII. That's got to do something to you.
I can't even imagine what it would be like for your mother, the queen, to be the marriage annulled and just someone else taking your mother's place on the throne. So sometimes, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I do feel for Mary, young Mary at times, but in this movie, it's so dark in juxtaposition with Elizabeth, the imagery around Elizabeth. When we see her first introduced onto the screen, she's dancing in the field and her ladies in waiting are with her. She's so beautiful, Cate Blanchett, with her long red hair, her flowing gown. It's like a teal gown with this pink coral ribbon accessory. And then we see her love interest and her dance. So Robert Dudley, who is such an interesting character. And it's like we'll never really know what their relationship actually was. We can see all these different versions on the screen, but I'm just so intrigued by the two of them.
Yeah. Um, I watched another mini series. I started watching it and it was about Queen Elizabeth and like she had like a relationship with like a married guy or something.
Okay, so you're talking about the Becoming Elizabeth miniseries from 2022, and that one highlights her time with Catherine Parr, who was Henry VIII's sixth wife. And after Henry died, she married Thomas Seymour. It's documented that Thomas Seymour flirted with young Princess Elizabeth and perhaps did even more with her. So that's a very interesting show to watch. Of course, how far her relationship went with Robert Dudley is also speculation. We'll never really know. Robert Dudley in this movie is played by Joseph Fiennes, who also played William Shakespeare in Shakespeare in Love, which came out that same year and was the main competitor to Elizabeth at the Academy Awards. We'll talk more about the Oscars later, but I wanted to mention that Joseph Fiennes was so big that year and gave two incredible performances in the same time period, the Elizabethan time period. You can't not talk about these two movies together.
Well, yeah, and Queen Elizabeth was in Shakespeare in Love.
Mm-hmm. Played
She
by
was
Judy Dench.
patron of the arts.
Yeah, played by Judy Dench in that. I guess, should we talk about the Oscars now or later?
Later.
Okay. So, listeners, stay tuned. We're going to talk about the Oscar drama between the two films in a little bit. But let's keep talking about Elizabeth, the movie, first. So, we were talking about the juxtaposition between the dark Queen Mary times and then the lighter Elizabeth times. And Mary sends her to the tower, and that did happen. Not all of this movie is historically accurate. I feel like it's just trying to capture the spirit of Elizabeth and the the feel of what it would have been like under her reign and being around her. Um, and she brought some lightness and some joy, I would say, to her reign after Mary's reign.
Yeah, I think of it as like a beautiful portrait of her life. It's we don't know everything. When you look at a picture, a famous painting, you don't know everything that happened, but you get the feeling and you get to see the beauty.
I like that. That's very nice. Exactly. A couple of things you may notice right away if you do look into the history of Queen Elizabeth. So her companion, Cat Ashley, played by Emily Mortimer. So her sort of she's more like a lady in waiting in this, but in reality, she was older, a mother figure, a governess. I love Emily Mortimer. And then Kelly MacDonald plays another lady in waiting, Isabel Knowles. And Kelly MacDonald is, you may have seen her in No Country for Old Men or Anna Karenina. She's been in quite a few period dramas too. And then I just realized this the last time I watched it. Lily Allen, the singer, is one of the ladies in waiting.
Oh, I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah. Once you see it, you're like, oh, there she is. She's like the smallest, littlest lady in waiting. And her brother Alfie is actually in this too as a young boy.
Oh, there was that song called Alfie.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
it's after her brother.
oh, okay.
Anyway, so that's just a bit about the ladies in waiting. And they're giggling all the time. Elizabeth has her girls around her. It's just cute. And they decided to go with that for this movie instead of having her like an older governess character next to her. Um, okay, and we talked about feeling some sympathy for Mary, but think of poor Elizabeth too, the constant fear of being falsely accused and threatened with death by your own sister. And then knowing that you might get executed like Lady Jane Grey. I mean, it's just the fear.
Oh, I know. I mean, that's so sad about what happened with Lady, the 9 Days Queen, I think they call her.
Mm-hmm.
Jane Grey. But anyway, but yeah, I read a book when I was younger about Queen Elizabeth, and apparently in the book, I'm not sure if it's true, but she had a memory of when she was really like young, like a baby, basically, of her mom carrying her and running through the castle to get to Henry and begging him for her life, holding Elizabeth, like, think of our child and stuff. And it didn't work, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently she just, she always thought of her mom and what her mom went through. And, um, but yeah, she lived in just constant kind of fear since a little girl because she didn't know if her dad would kill her. just because of who her mom was, or and then she didn't know if Mary would kill her. And I've
Yeah.
always felt like a closeness to her. I'm not really, but like I have an older sister, I have a younger brother, I'm the middle. Like that's kind of what's going on with her.
Do not call me Bloody Mary, Kayla.
She was last. She was last in line for the throne and she got it and she became one of the longest monarchs of England.
It's so true. I never thought of it about it that way, but I guess birth order, I would be Mary, you would be Elizabeth, and our little brother would be Edward.
Yeah.
You would be last in line.
But I would have been the best queen ever.
Okay, fine. We'll go with that. I'll give you that one. But because I know middle children do have it rough. But yeah, and there are records of the three siblings getting along together and living in the same household at times. I know Catherine Parr tried to um, get them, on good terms together and have Henry recognize them all in his will and all of that. And I feel like I've read that Edward, the brother who became King Edward VI, he was more in with the Protestant faith and the Reformation, like Elizabeth, whereas Mary was full on Catholic, like her mother. So it's just strange to think of the difference in religion amongst the family, amongst the siblings.
Yeah, and it mostly boils down to what their mother was, I guess. Or
Mm-hmm.
but,
Yeah.
but I liked that scene in the movie where they were like, she finally became queen, and they were like, "Well, time to go kill the Catholics," and she was like, "No, we're gonna put it into all this craziness." She's like, what they believe is not illegal; it's what they do that could be illegal. So
Mm-hmm.
good on her.
Yeah, she wanted peace in her kingdom and she was thinking of her people. And you got to love Elizabeth for that. So I love the scene when she becomes queen. They go out to her in the field and they bow and they give her the ring. And it's very ethereal in the movie. The lighting kind of fades in and out and it's like glowing and it's just a beautiful scene and it kind of reminds me of the legend around Queen Victoria when they bowed to her early in the morning when she became queen. I don't know. It's just there's always this myth, this ethereal visual imagery that comes to mind when they tell a young woman, "You're queen." I don't know.
Oh yeah.
And there's the quote from her when she becomes queen. "This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes." And I believe that is a real quote from Elizabeth.
She's got some pretty cool quotes.
Throughout this, oh my gosh, yes, throughout this movie, and Cate Blanchett is the perfect person to just deliver these iconic quotes. Some of them I'm sure were taken from historical record and some were more for the movie, but
They
they're
used quite
so
a bit of the
great.
historical ones, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. They're so great. And her coronation scene, that costume that she wears is based off of Queen Elizabeth's real coronation portrait. And costume design, have to mention, by Alexandra Byrne. She did the costumes for both movies, Elizabeth and Elizabeth the Golden Age. Okay. Won the Oscar for the 2007 film. Now, the makeup artist for both films, same person, Jenny Shearcore, she won the Oscar for the 1998 film, the earlier film. So both movies won at least one Oscar. Both films were directed by the same person, Shekhar Kapoor. And I think there's a continuity between the two films, but I don't know. I do just, the first one has like a special place in my heart versus the second one.
Oh, so I thought there was a different director for the second one for some reason.
No, same director, same costume designer, and same makeup artist.
Cool.
Very cool. Now, yeah, so the coronation dress and the matching robe, that goldenrod yellow costuming is just one of my favorite things to look at in the movie. It's so beautiful. And the coronation one, it matches what she wore in the portrait. So it's very historically accurate. And her hair was down. And apparently that oftentimes in period dramas and historical movies, we say, they'll put their hair down, and that's more of a modern take. But in this case, she wanted her hair down and long because it was Elizabeth giving the public a sign of her virginity, I read.
Oh wow, they really banked on that, didn't they?
Symbolism, man. But yeah, her gold brocade dress, and then the ermine. When all of these coronations happen for kings and queens, they're wearing the ermine lined cloak, the white with the black. It's just a sign of royalty.
Mm-hmm.
But she looks stunning in that, and I love the gown. And then later at the party, she's able to just wear the dress without the cloak, and that's when she has her dance scene with Robert. Play a volta.
She loved a Volta.
She loved the volta. And what do you think about that scene? I mean, it's pretty intimate between her and Robert in front of everybody.
Yeah, it is. It makes me laugh how they danced because back then it was just a lot of like the guy just lifting them up and putting them back down. Like that was
Yeah,
clunky.
it is. But she at least makes it graceful. But I mean, I can't even imagine.
That must be exhausting for the guy to like just lift him up and down. Like
Gotta be strong. But the Volta, yeah, that was her dance right there. Um, and I love the silhouette of that gown, like the corset. It comes down pretty. It's like kind of deep set, and then the skirt part of the dress is very rounded, the way it kind of billows out. I just love the silhouette of it. It's just in such an iconic costume.
it is. No, it's beautiful. It looks very like, a dress you'd see in those old portraits.
Mhm.
I mean, because they made it look just like that.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. And um, but then of course they do take some liberties with the other costumes. I think this one was very accurate. They do want to play around with some of her costumes and give it a very movie-like quality. There's also that scene kind of not shortly long after that where she's being undressed by her ladies, and it's like thundering and lightning, and it's so magical. I don't know, I just love that scene. We talked a little bit about the ladies in waiting of Elizabeth and the actresses who played them, but there are so many actors that you probably recognize in this movie who are more popular now than they were back then. So you have James Frain, who plays the Spanish ambassador, who is also in the Tudors series as Thomas Cromwell. But we have Richard Attenborough, Dr. John Hammond from Jurassic Park, playing Sir William.
Ooh, ooh.
Richard Attenborough.
No, the one oh what's his name? The guy that you like?
I don't even know what you're. There's so.
Oh,
You're talking about.
I was thinking about the Tudor show and how what's his name's in that. You're the guy Sam Neill or what's his name?
Oh, Kayla, you're talking about Sam Neill, who I think in Jurassic Park looks quite handsome as Dr. Grant. And you're probably also thinking because he's in the Tudors series. So Sam Neill from Jurassic Park is in the Tudors, and Richard Attenborough from Jurassic Park is in Elizabeth. Oh my gosh. He plays Sir William and then later Lord Burleigh. Such a great actor. Vincent Cassel, the French actor who plays the Duke of Anjou, who really was a potential suitor for Elizabeth, the brother of King Henry III. And then we have Daniel Craig in this movie. Love his parts, even though it's kind of a smaller role. But this is a young Daniel Craig, not James Bond yet. And wow, assassin. So cool.
He's creepy in this one.
He's creepy, but at the same time, I still love seeing him. And there's that scene where he gets off the boat and he stands up and there's just the blue sky behind him and his blue eyes are just shining. And I'm like, oh, that's Daniel Craig right there. um, so back to the plot, we have right after she gets coronated, they're already trying to get her to marry someone, whether it's the Duke of Anjou or, they were saying, Your Majesty's body and person are no longer your own property. They belong to the state. When Queen Elizabeth said, I do not see why a woman need marry at all. So she was already being pushed and encouraged to marry and produce an heir. And she stayed pretty resolute. I mean, I think throughout this whole film, you you see why she really keeps that stance and stays unmarried. I think that if she could have married Robert Dudley, I mean,
So she could have.
no, I'm saying, um, it, I like to think, I would think, that's my opinion, if she could have married him, if he weren't already married, she would have. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think she definitely had some, issues about marriage because of how her dad was. Like that's all she had seen of a man is her treacherous, diabolical father. So yeah, there's gonna be some issues there that she probably just decided she was stronger alone, and she had her love, the love of her life, but she couldn't marry him. So
Yeah. And in the movie, they depicted it as this big realization, like, oh, he actually has a wife. But in reality, she knew he was married to the first wife. He did get married to a second wife later without telling her. So they kind of played on that probably. But
wait, what?
so he did get married again after, oh, because Amy died from strange circumstances.
What?
I've read, I think there's rumors that she was pushed down the stairs, she fell down a flight of stairs. I think there's rumors around her death. It was like a bit suspicious.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyways, he did marry again a second time. And it was one of her ladies in waiting. I like in my head to think of them as like, the love of each other's lives, and they were not allowed to get married and, all.
I mean, I think that to an extent, but I deep down think Queen Elizabeth she just did not want to get married.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think she was a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I do like what you said about her having some issues because even she had I believe the king Mary's husband, the king of Spain, did want to take her hand after Mary died. Like, just she has horrible thoughts around marriage, I'm sure, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she stayed true to herself throughout the movie. I mean, she she entertains the Duke of Anjou, played by Vincent Cassel. I love that whole scene where he pretends that he's the little flautist and he um, steps in and is like, "It is me. I am the Duke." And she's just like, "What is going on?" And then, of course, he has his risque party, and she catches him, and definitely a lot going on there. And it just wasn't it just wasn't meant to be. Yeah, and another interesting thing is this movie is kind of like 4 years of the first part of her reign. She ruled for 44 years and her coronation was in 1559. So this they kind of try to compress a bunch of storylines into the first 4 years, and at the end of this movie, they show her cutting her hair and putting on the white makeup and just making her skin all white, and
Yeah.
the strong, that may have happened later on, not so early in her coronation.
Yeah, I hated seeing her cut her hair, but I think that they didn't really go over her health issues that she had. Like she had scars and stuff all over
Mhm.
her face and then she ended up covering it with lead, which is even worse than what she had before. So she was not in great health.
Right, and that was
She
part
looked
of
a
the
lot
reason.
older. She looked a lot older than what she was, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. But the way they do it in this movie, it's it makes for the great movie scene, the great transformation of her becoming Gloriana, Queen Elizabeth. So
Yeah,
I
it's
just love the ending.
kind of like war paint in a way.
And even everyone's staring at her at the end, like Robert's looking up at her. Even, oh my gosh, we haven't even talked about Walsingham, played by Jeffrey Rush, who is amazing in this. Caleb Barbosa from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh yes,
He's so great in
he looked
this.
really handsome, especially the first one. I was like, wow,
No, it's true. I agree with
he's such
that.
a pirate. Oh my gosh.
Such a pirate. But but even he at the end he's kind of teary eyed looking at her. I noticed, even though he's pretty ruthless in this, kills everybody he wants to.
I mean, they're looking at the greatest queen in history, you could say.
There you go. Okay, so we kind of did a rundown of the first movie. It's beautiful. There are some dark moments, of course, but I'm sure it was kind of true to the times. And this movie brought Cate Blanchett international acclaim. Before this, she had been in a couple things. There was an Oscar and Lucinda movie from 97, but this really just jump started her career and everyone knew who she was. She gave such a commanding performance, so many amazing quotes, and she goes on to be nominated for Best Actress Oscar. But it's compete the Elizabeth movie is competing with Shakespeare in Love that year.
Tell me what happened. I'm so curious.
Okay, so Harvey Weinstein, Miramax was backing Shakespeare in Love that year. And there's controversy. I mean, he campaigned hard for it. There's all kinds of articles online. I won't get into it. But essentially, Shakespeare in Love won 7 Oscars. It took home Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Art and Set Direction, Music Score, Best Costumes by Sandy Powell, Best Supporting Actress Judi Dench playing Queen Elizabeth, and Gwyneth Paltrow won the Oscar for playing Violet de Lesseps. But many people to this day believe Cate Blanchett was kind of robbed of the Oscar for Best Actress.
Well, yeah, I mean, Harvey Weinstein, that gross man, that I'm sure it was rigged.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Shakespeare in Love. I do enjoy watching it. And I think Judi Dench is amazing as the older Queen Elizabeth in it. It's a comedy, it's great, it's got some romance. But to me, Cate Blanchett in this role, I'll always think she deserved the Oscar. And I know a lot of people agree with me.
No, yeah, totally. Did she ever win an Oscar after that?
Yes. So, like I said, this kickstarted Cate Blanchett's career. She's actually my favorite actress other than Audrey Hepburn, but like the word, actress of today, Cate Blanchett is my favorite actress. So she went on to do The Talented Mr. Ripley after this, The Man Who Cried, which is kind of an underrated one, Lord of the Rings. I mean, Galadriel, she's amazing. The Aviator. So 2004, that's where she won her first Oscar. Best Supporting Actress for playing Katharine Hepburn in The Aviator.
No,
Such
yeah.
a well-deserved
Oh,
one.
yeah, like she became Katharine Hepburn. Like that was perfect casting for.
Perfect. She played Bob Dylan in I'm Not There with all the other actors. There were a bunch of actors in that movie that played Bob Dylan. And everyone agrees Cate Blanchett was the best Bob Dylan from the movie. Like, how crazy is that? Also, I was going to say, so then she did Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Do you remember this with the Shia LaBeouf? This movie is hated on, but still, Cate Blanchett gives it her all. Like, it doesn't matter what movie. Oh, that Hannah movie from 2011 that you and I like that some people probably don't like. Like, she gives a stellar performance despite what the movie is. Okay, Curious Case of Benjamin Button, amazing in. That's 2008. Blue Jasmine, 2013. She did get the Best Actress Oscar for this movie. Blue Jasmine, not a period drama, more of like a melodrama. I don't know. Cinderella, 2015. Lady Tremaine, perfect casting, I think. Carol, 2015. Love that movie. Nightmare Alley, 2021. She got an Oscar nomination 2 years ago for Tar, where she played a conductor. And she was she was a front runner for that Oscar too. This is not, I mean, Cate Blanchett is going to win another Oscar. I know she will. And Elizabeth the Golden Age, she got an Oscar nomination for that. Oh, last thing. I know I'm ranting about my love for Cate Blanchett. She's going to be in the upcoming an upcoming Brideshead Revisited remake.
Oh, they're remaking it?
They are with
Oh,
Rooney Mara.
oh, okay.
Yeah. What do you okay? So I've just been going on and on about my love for Cate Blanchett.
Yeah.
What is your favorite role other than Elizabeth? Do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked her in Aviator because she did that transatlantic accent really well, and it was cool to see her as Katherine Hepburn.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Agreed. But do you remember in the Hannah movie
Yeah,
where she's like,
she's scary in that.
she's creepy, like that scene where she's brushing her teeth too much?
Yeah. Ugh.
Well, in Curious Case of Benjamin Button, I think she's
Okay, I
excellent
think
in that too.
you got this.
Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
Jeez. No, I'm
I'm
kidding.
sorry. Okay.
Girl Crash.
I don't know. She's just my favorite. Did you see that video I sent you today of um her hatred of leaf blowers?
Oh yeah, I mean that makes sense. It's like, what are you doing? I was at lunch parked one day out where I parked to eat lunch, get in my car and just relax. And I was like, what's going on? And this guy who was holding a leaf blower and he was like, can you like move? He was like, please. And I was just like, you're gonna make me move so you can just blow some little leaves around. Like that's so stupid. So yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, apparently in multiple interviews she talks about her, dislike for leaf blowers, and she doesn't think that they do anything. It's just funny. There's If you look on Instagram, if you search for it, you'll find it.
No, it's funny. I watched that and then I like to read comments. And the first comment was someone was going like, this is ridiculous to rant about this. I mean, every leaf blower has a bag that collects the leaves. Like, come on. And then the first comment under that had so many more likes was like, this is not like, no, that they don't. No, they don't. So it's like what people are they make up stuff. Like what?
It sounds, yeah, kind of
People
like
just want to make up stuff to argue. Like
a it's just funny. And then one more thing off topic is that she's in a music video fairly recently called The Girl is Crying in Her Latte by the Sparks. And Kate Blanchett's just dancing in it, and it's worth a watch.
okay.
Okay. So now we're going to segue into Elizabeth the Golden Age, 2007. I love the movie for the costumes and for her performance. Storyline wise, it's not my favorite storyline wise. I don't know. What do you think?
I like them both almost equally. I probably like the
Okay.
first one just a little bit more, but I think it was great. It's
Okay.
got a lot more, like the battle scenes are more intense and it's got a lot more, it's less romance, more just,
Her
eventful.
her being awesome. Yeah, the battle scenes in the first one, they really just show like time has passed and there's like blood in the water, and that's like the symbol that like people died in war. Whereas in this one, they have the big Spanish Armada scene at the end. So you're right there. Um, in this movie, they're still trying to get her married to someone, right? So the setting is 1585, takes place 26 years later. So she's older, more experienced in her reign, and they're still trying to get her married off to someone, produce an heir, and she's kind of, I think she's still not having it. But at the same time, I think this movie depicts her trying to find the balance between her public self and her private self, and maybe trying to feel a little bit like a woman still. She has some flirtatious moments with Clive Owen, Sir Walter Raleigh, the pirate. And Clive Owen, he was big during this time for movies. Like he was in King Arthur, the movie Closer with Natalie Portman. He's pretty dashing,
Yeah, he's swoon-worthy.
very swoon-worthy. When he talks, you're just like Queen Elizabeth. I'm like mesmerized.
Like, yes, sir.
And he was a poet. The Sir Walter Raleigh was a poet as well as a pirate. um, I knew you were gonna laugh at that. Whatever. Okay. Okay. Um, this movie also depicts Mary Queen of Scots and the drama around that, played by Samantha Morton. I think does an excellent job playing Mary Queen of Scots. So this is a queen who had somewhat of a claim to the English throne, and she's debating with herself whether she should have her killed or not. I'm sure many people think of Mary Queen of Scots as sort of a romantic, sad figure to have been executed by her cousin.
Yeah. Well, apparently she lived most of her life in France, so she probably would have had a more French accent. And this one, it's a little bit more Scottish, but
Mm-hmm. There's Abby Cornish, who plays Bess Throckmorton, her lady in waiting in this, young Abby Cornish, and she's so pretty and sweet. She's an Australian actress as well. And she ends up marrying Sir Walter Raleigh against the queen's wishes, or they concealed it from the queen. Can you hear a dog wailing in the background? Because there is a dog wailing in the background, not my dog.
no.
Okay. So
Can you hear a woman speaking through the
okay. Oh, other actors popping up in Elizabeth the Golden Age. We have Eddie Redmayne, who also went on to play a role in The Other Boleyn Girl. Tom Hollander. So, Tom Hollander, boiled potato man, Pride and Prejudice. Clive Owen, I mentioned. And we talked a little bit about the iconic quotes of the first movie, but they're equally iconic ones in the second movie. She says, Queen Elizabeth says, I may be a woman, but if I choose, I have the heart of a man. I am my father's daughter, and I'm not afraid of anything. And then my favorite, she's wearing the gold dress. I too can command the wind, sir. I have a hurricane in me that will strip Spain bare if you dare to try me. It's just, that is like Oscar worthy right there.
Well, I know Queen Elizabeth had some pretty cool quotes, but yeah, her father's temper definitely comes through in because apparently she did have her father's temper and
Yeah.
red hair.
And red hair. So a little more on the costumes in the Golden Age. And remember, Alexandra Byrne took home the Oscar for this one. I think they definitely upped it a notch as far as being show-stopping costumes through all the different colors. So I actually kept track of it this last time I watched the movie. She wears orange. She does yellow again, that bright goldenrod yellow. She wears a series of blue costumes. There's like an aqua blue, a more powdery blue, a silver blue. She wears a lime green and multiple purple, deep purple costumes. I think that just really, the purple is always a symbol of royalty. So those look so great on her. She almost gets assassinated by Eddie Redmayne in that scene, and she's wearing this beautiful off-white gown. And I love how she kind of just turns to him and has her hands out, just like, you can try to shoot me, but I'm invincible.
Yeah, I wonder if that's how it really went down.
I'd like to think so. And then the Spanish Armada, she's got the armor on the white horse, her hair is down again. And that is such a wonderful scene. And she has another famous speech. We meet again in heaven or on the field of victory. And then at the end, she's wearing that light gold. She has the wired collar and the ruff. So, like, this is also depicted from paintings of Queen Elizabeth, where, do you know what I'm saying? The wired collar, it's really big in the back, and the ruff neck, the frills around her neck. And she just looks so regal, and that costuming is just so beautiful and ethereal and majestic. Also, at the end of this, she has the conflict with Bess and Sir Walter Raleigh getting married and having a baby without her consent. But in the end, she's holding the baby. And I feel like that's very symbolic. Like, she's holding a baby, like England is her baby. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much
No,
into
I
that.
like that. Yeah.
And that's how they end it, the second movie. Now is the part of the podcast where I want to talk about other portrayals of Queen Elizabeth. Okay. This goes way back to 1939. Betty Davis played Queen Elizabeth with Errol Flynn in The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex. And then she played her again in The Virgin Queen, 1955. So we have Betty Davis. We have Dame Judi Dench, of course, in 1997, playing Queen Elizabeth. There's a Glenda Jackson in A Mary Queen of Scots from 1971. I haven't seen this one, but I've heard it's good. Helen Mirren in a TV miniseries from 2005. In Orlando, the movie 1992, there's Quentin Crisp plays Queen Elizabeth, and that's an interesting one. I love that movie and the costuming by Sandy Powell. And a mini series that you may or may not know about. It's called Elizabeth the Virgin Queen. It's a BBC series from 2006. Anne Marie Duff plays Queen Elizabeth. I think this one is definitely worth a watch. The costuming won a BAFTA TV award, okay, by Amy Roberts. And some of the costuming in that ended up being reused in the Tudor series. So you may notice this coral pink dress and this red dress on Queen Elizabeth, and then you've seen it in the Tudors. Tom Hardy plays Robert Dudley in this Virgin Queen miniseries. I mean, I would watch anything with Tom Hardy in it. He's wearing an earring. It's just great. You got to watch it. I'm serious. Okay. Then they have the Mary Queen of Scots movie from 2018. Margot Robbie playing Queen Elizabeth and Saoirse Ronan playing Mary Queen of Scots. I remember when I first heard this movie was being made, I was like, oh yeah, Saoirse Ronan is Queen Elizabeth, perfect. And then I was like, I read it and it's like, no, Margot Robbie is going to be. I think Saoirse could have done it.
Yeah, I think they probably should have had Saoirse be Elizabeth and then I don't know, not Margot Robbie.
I am totally in agreement with you. She's just, I mean, first off, she's beautiful. She's Barbie.
Well, so I mean, I think she did, she was fine for that role, but I saw that movie and honestly, I did, as a Queen Elizabeth the first fan, I just didn't like their portrayal of her. They made her kind of just like, it's as if she was a clown, that she was a facade, that she, underneath the paint, she was nothing but a weak thing. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. I guess because the movie was more about Mary, Queen of Scots, but I don't know. I still think I think in the future, if they need another person to portray Queen Elizabeth, I think Saoirse Ronan can do it.
Yeah, I think she would look a lot like her, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any other actresses who you think, if you were casting a Queen Elizabeth movie, that you think could play Queen Elizabeth?
Oh,
Nicole Kidman may have been considered for the part instead of Cate
of
Blanchett.
course. She's playing everyone. She's in every biopic playing everyone. Like, this woman does not look like everybody.
Fair enough. I think Tilda Swinton could have played Queen Elizabeth too if they couldn't have gotten Cate Blanchett. I don't know. I'm a Tilda Swinton fan. And so regal and majestic as the White Witch in Narnia.
Um, let me think. So we're talking any kind of age bracket.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Olsen or Emma Stone.
I was going to say Emma Stone. I mean, I think appearance wise, Emma Stone could definitely pull it off. And she knows how to do a British accent well. I don't know much about Elizabeth Olsen, but Emma can do the accent. She was in The Favorite and the more recent movie.
Or
What's it
Lindsay
called?
Lohan.
Kayla, no.
I'm looking at actresses. It's kind of
I
scary
know.
here.
Should we agree that Saoirse and Emma could do it?
Yeah, I mean, probably Saoirse more than Emma.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Dakota Fanning.
I was thinking about the Fanning sisters because Elle Fanning did Catherine the Great. I could potentially see that. But I think a British or an Australian actress for this, or Irish, someone from the UK or from Australia. I just want to see. And that's me. Isn't that funny? They
Ooh,
got, okay,
Jennifer Lawrence.
Kayla, no,
Why not?
no, I would die.
Being so dramatic.
I'm sorry. I can't. No,
I would die.
I would die.
Okay, well, this one's kind of tough, but what do you guys think? Let us know.
But I was going to say, isn't it funny that Margot Robbie's Australian and they got her to play Queen Elizabeth, and Cate Blanchett is Australian, and Nicole Kidman was considered and she's Australian. It's just kind of funny.
No, that's funny.
So maybe another Australian actress
Yeah.
play Queen Elizabeth. Okay, but I do want to talk about a few more roles, a few more portrayals of Queen Elizabeth. There's the German actress Alicia von Rittberg, who plays the young Elizabeth in Becoming Elizabeth, a 2022 miniseries. Unfortunately, it was canceled after one season, and many people are really upset by that. But this is the one that we were talking about, where it really shows the Thomas Seymour man being kind of influential in her 14-year-old life. That one has a better portrayal of Mary Tudor, of Queen Mary, young Queen Mary, played by Romola Garai. And it has Bella Ramsey as Jane Grey, and it has Catherine Parr character in it, King Edward. So Becoming Elizabeth, definitely worth a watch. Beautiful velvety costumes in that one. The upcoming Firebrand movie, starring Alicia Vikander and Jude Law, coming to theaters in June. So excited. They're going to have parts with the young Princess Elizabeth in it. There's a young princess in the Tudors series. They don't have, they don't focus on her a lot in it, but they show her as a educated young woman, very smart in all the movie, in all portrayals. She's pretty much portrayed as smart. And in the upcoming season, the next season of The Serpent Queen, Minnie Driver is playing Queen Elizabeth. And they've been releasing photos. So the season hasn't come out yet. They've been releasing photos of Minnie Driver as Queen Elizabeth. So thank you all for joining us today. We've talked about our love for Cate Blanchett as Queen Elizabeth in the two movies, Elizabeth from 1998 and Elizabeth the Golden Age from 2007. We shared our opinions on her performance in the context of the 1999 Oscars race and other portrayals of the Queen. We'll probably do more podcast episodes on other favorite queens, including Queen Victoria, Catherine the Great, Empress Sissy. So let us know if there's someone from a period drama that you'd like us to cover in our podcast episodes in the future.
Thank you guys. Don't forget to leave us a review, preferably a 5-star review, and make sure you follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. And go ahead and share this podcast with anybody you know who loves period films and they might be interested in listening. And follow us on Instagram
At Swoon-Worthy Podcast. Catch you next time.